Okay, so the Eagles got to make a big decision on Jordan Davis. And what could further impact it is if the Eagles draft who NFL analysts are calling baby Jalen Carter, Walter Nolen. Meanwhile, the Eagles continue to bring in people for their top 30 visits, including a possible first-round corner who ran a 4.28 and is an absolute playmaker, a defensive lineman who in college played both D tackle and edge rusher at a high level, and a Texas running back who's an absolute speedster who ran the fastest 40 for running backs and also can catch. What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, and this is the Philly Tall Podcast. If you rock with our Philadelphia Eagles, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the videos. So as we get closer to the 2025 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles continue to bring people in on top 30 visits. But first, let's talk about a couple in-house decisions that need to be made for 3 former first-round picks of the 2022 draft. You may be thinking, the Eagles only had 1 first-round pick in 2022, and they drafted Jordan Davis, and you are correct. However, at the beginning of the 2024 season, we traded a 3rd-round pick for Jahan Dotson, who was drafted in 2022, and just recently, a couple weeks ago, traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson for former first-round pick in the 2022 draft, Kenyon Green. That means the Eagles only have to May 1st to decide whether or not they're going to pick up the 5th-year option for all 3 players, which I can't imagine them doing for Kenyon Green since he just got here. Jahan Dotson, maybe, depending on the price, although I don't see the Eagles spending much money on wide receiver 3. As for Jordan Davis, it is tricky, especially with the 2025 draft being so deep at the D-tackle position. Now, before we go any further, I just want to get it on record. I am a big fan of Jordan Davis. I love what he does against the run. He's a nose tackle. He occupies space, eats up body. There's a lot of things for the D-line when he's in. And he did have 2 sacks in the playoffs coming in the 2 biggest games of the season. I'm also not a big fan of breaking up the Philly Dogs. I understand it's a business, but the energy they give each other makes them that much better. We heard people like Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, and other defensive players talk about the bond that the Georgia guys have and how it made the culture overall even stronger. Still, we all know that the Eagles are gearing up to pay Jalen Carter big time. We're not even going to let him get to the 4th year or a 5th-year option. Back to Jordan Davis. If the Eagles decide to pick up his 5th-year option, he'd make around $12 million on that 5th-year option. That's not the 2025 season. It's the 2026 season, which will be the first year of the Jalen Carter deal. Now, granted, I don't know all the rules as it pertains to the 5th-year option, but say they do elect to give him the 5th-year option, but come to the table before that with a deal. Could it change? I don't know. I just think if Jordan Davis is going to be here long term, he has to take a team-friendly deal simply because the numbers don't back it up. And when I say numbers, I'm not talking about production. When he's on the field, he's a great run stopper. And again, he does occupy space, eat up bodies, do all the dirty work for the linebackers and edge rushers. However, last year, in the dominant defensive line performance, that was a collective effort. I'm talking secondary linebacker, the rotation at D-tackle and edge, but how much did they play him? Defensive tackle snaps for the 2024 season, Jalen Carter, 831, which is 79%. Milton Williams, 501, which is 48%. Jordan Davis and Mora Ajomo with 388 snaps, which is 37%. And Thomas Booker, 166 snaps, which equals 16%. I say all that to say this. I don't want to lose Jordan Davis. I think he's important to the rotation and the culture. Moro Jomo snaps are going to have to come up. So will Jordan Davis's. We got to account for 501 snaps. So what are the Eagles thinking? Regardless, Jordan Davis will be here for the 2025 season. So you could have Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, a Jomo, and a draftee. Then the following season, Jordan Davis walks, you'll have Jalen Carter, a Jomo, and the draftee with some veteran options or more D tackles in the following draft. A Jomo, who's pretty darn good, would be cheaper than Jordan Davis. Again, unless Jordan Davis understands his role and takes a team-friendly deal, especially if the Eagles draft the guy who's quickly becoming a fan favorite. I see y'all in the comment section. A lot of people want the Eagles to draft Walter Nolen, and on back-to-back mock drafts, Mel Kiper got him falling to the Eagles at 32. Now, the Eagles have not invited him on a top 30 visit yet, which we still got guys to talk about that have been invited in the last 2 days. But before we do that, plus listen to a Philadelphia TV analyst call Walter Nolen a baby Jalen Carter, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Raycon, with their everyday headphones. Does anybody else feel like March is just madness? So many distractions, so many interruptions from all your goals you set to start 2025. It's hard to tune out. But with the everyday headphones by Raycon, it's definitely easier to tune out the noise, the chaos, and focus on what matters the most. Some of the things I love most about Raycon's everyday headphones, besides how comfortable they are, is their hybrid active noise cancellation. You put this thing on, whether it's loud crowds, people at the gym, other music, you could barely hear it. But you know when you get that friend that taps you on the shoulder and says, "What you listen to?" You don't got to take your headphones off. You can just turn it to the side. I love this function. Another thing I don't like about other headphones is they say the battery's long lasting, but not like Raycon. They say, and it is, over 38 hours. And if it does die, 15 minutes on the charger will give you a quick 2 hours of use. So between the active noise cancellation that's top notch, they got an awareness mode so you can protect yourself while you're on the go with it, 38 hours of battery life, all day comfort. There's no reason why you shouldn't go try out Raycon. Plus, they give a 30-day guarantee. If you don't like it, which I know you will, you can get your money back, no questions asked. So if you want to experience premium sound wherever you go, head to buyraycon.com/PhillyMike25 to get 25% off Raycon's best-selling everyday headphones. Don't miss out. The link is in the description and the pinned comment section. Once again, head to buyraycon.com/PhillyMike25. I got my headphones. Go get yours. One more quick look how these bad boys get down. And again, these things are soft like a pillow. So when it comes to Walter Nolen, a lot of people talk about how dangerous he is in the run game, and rightfully so. But the dude does have pass rush moves, especially since transferring from Texas A&M to Ole Miss. In just 12 games at Ole Miss, he had 34 pressures and 6 sacks. Mind you, he gets doubled often, like somebody he's being compared to, but let me set the record straight. Jalen Carter is one of one. Anyways, Ole Miss, the 1 year that he played for their team, 12 games, they had a team high 52 sacks and 120 tackles for loss. Again, he's a monster, but he makes players around him better. Listen to Greg Cosell talk about him.
I personally believe that Walter Nolen is the best defensive tackle prospect in this draft class. He is a power three technique. He is really, really strong. He has numerous plays in the SEC that were reminiscent of Jalen Carter's tape at Georgia, where he just had that transcendent, confined space, strength, and power, where he just physically moved and displaced offensive linemen. And he's got quickness to him as well. He played low with excellent leverage and what I call short stroke strength and power. He's got a twitched up explosiveness to him. As I said, he's a power three technique. And I thought watching his tape, because I watched him last summer when he was at Texas A&M, and then he transferred this year to Ole Miss, and they had a really good defense with a lot of players, both at the combine and who will get drafted. And I thought Nolen, to me, was the best D tackle prospect in this draft class based on tape.
Again, Mel Kiper got him mocked to us at 32. I don't know if he's going to fall to 32, but at the end of the day, if he does, the Eagles will definitely consider it. And don't be surprised if he is not one of the top 30 visits. Right now, we're up to 11, and little by little, we'll break down all of them. But I do want to save some of the offensive linemen for early next week because I'm not too familiar with them and need to get more film under my belt before I talk about them. However, with today's reported visit, OSU offensive lineman Donovan Jackson, that makes 6 of the first 11 top 30 visits offensive linemen. So don't be surprised if Howie Roseman goes O-line early. Now to the three new top 30 visits that are not offensive linemen. One is a cornerback that could go late first, early second. The next one is a defensive end slash D tackle. He literally plays both positions. And the third one is a running back that ran a 4.28, the fastest running back in the draft. Let's start with the cornerback, Maxwell Hairston, who is the number 42 prospect ranked by Pro Football Focus, but the number 32 prospect ranked by Daniel Jeremiah. The 21-year-old played 32 games at Kentucky over the last 3 seasons. He logged 6 interceptions, 3 returned for touchdowns, 10 passes defended, and 3 forced fumbles. During that span, he clearly got some playmaking ability. The first thing that stood out to me after watching his tape is that 4.3/4.28 speed at the corner position. If he's playing man, he can press, he's physical, as we've seen at the Senior Bowl. He could be utilized as a blitzer, so a multitude of things he can do. If he does get beat, the recovery speed is like no other. He got the burst to close crazy as he took 3 to the crib, and ball hawk ability with 5 picks. A lot of people have him as a late first or early second round pick. The biggest knock on his game is his height, 5'11", his frame, but a lot of people were called too small for the NFL and shine. But he might have a little tougher time contesting bigger wide receivers, but the long arms kind of make up for it. Plus, the kid jumped 39.5 inches at the combine, so almost a 40-inch vertical. As for being physical, he can sometimes get called with some holds due to the physicality, but overall, a solid guy. He scored a 9.62 RAS out of a possible 10. This ranked him 96 out of 2,509 cornerbacks since 1987 to 2025. As for the next top 30 visit, Elijah Roberts, who's the 82nd prospect ranked by Pro Football Focus. Relatively speaking, he is on the older side considering he'll turn 24 in December as a rookie. Mind you, Azeez Ojulari, who we signed, is 24 and played a couple seasons in the NFL. When Elijah Roberts was at Miami, he didn't get much playing time in the first 3 years. Then he transferred to SMU, where he logged 24 tackles for loss, 17.5 sacks, and a forced fumble in 27 games played from 2023 to 2024. This obviously looks like a day 2 pick, but if the Eagles don't go edge or D tackle early and do go offensive lineman or corner, then you could see the Eagles maybe picking a guy like this on day 2. Listen to what he says as it pertains to, does he think he's going to play D tackle or defensive end in the NFL?
Like, it's kind of crazy, because if I play in one position, I have to gain about 10 pounds. If I play in another, I have to lose about 5 to 10. So it's just like, I'm kind of just doing like what my body kind of tells me and just been ready for whatever. Honestly, I feel like me being able to do that and have done that before here at SMU, I played everything from 3 all the way to 9. So, being able to have done that the past years, I feel like I'll be ready going into camp. Whenever I do get drafted, I have that time off before camp and stuff to kind of get honed in on my position,
Again, the Eagles brought him in. They can't draft all 30 people they bring in, but they do have interest by bringing them in. Lastly, the running back they brought in, Jaydon Blue, who's the number 126 prospect ranked by Pro Football Focus. The 21-year-old played at Texas from 2022 to 2024. He logged 214 carries for 1,161 rushing yards, 5.4 yards in average, and 11 touchdowns during that span. He also had 56 receptions for 503 yards, which is 9 yards in average, and 7 touchdowns. Now, obviously, Blue's on the smaller side at 5'9", 196, but could the Eagles have interest in Blue on day 3 to sit behind Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley, and A.J. Dillon, depending on his health? The dude is a speedster, can catch, and that 4.28 speed is all real. And even though he's a little guy, he's not afraid to lower the shoulder. His lack of production comes from him always sitting behind really, really good running backs at Texas. Remember, Bijan was there. Last year, he had 134 carries for 730 yards, a 5.4 yard average with 8 rushing touchdowns. He also caught 42 passes for 368 yards with 6 receiving touchdowns. I do find it interesting that the Eagles elected to bring him in, especially early in the process. With all that being said, I go by Philly Mike, and this is the Philly Talk Podcast. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. I absolutely love hearing from you. Go get your Raycon headphones. Click the link in the description and or the pinned comment section. get 25% off and listen to good podcast music, all that good stuff. I love y'all. Like, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, muscle up if you got anything to say. And until next time, you know what time it is. We out.